Powered by Rev Media in partnership with TSN, this is Season 5. It's Episode 14 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, and it is presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey, who have introduced the first release of the Canadian Club Invitation Series, the CC 15-year-old Sherry Cask. So it's the signature CC Classic 12-year-old, finished with a secondary aging in Oloroso Sherry casks. All the hallmarks of classic Canadian Club with the added richness and sweetness of sherry. There you are, Ray, my good friend. You're on the road, just off your first Vancouver Canucks regional broadcast with your old buddies, right? This you're like your golfing pals. You've got Shorty right there. You've got Murph. I mean, do you spend more time talking hockey or golf pre and post?
Well, what I did learn working with those guys last night for the first time is food and post game is a focus.
Okay.
So like you need to know where you're going, and because they've been doing it together for 25 years. They're pretty sure about the game. Honestly, it was so fun to do. These guys are, John Shorthouse and Dan Murphy are two of my good friends, and we play a lot of golf together, and to be able to work with them was better than I thought it was going to be. Like, it was so fun. It was kind of cool to be able to do games back, that are shown back home, where for years, that the people at home haven't been able to watch. And so that felt really good. And as you know, when you do something new, there's a little juice to it as well, right? There's just because it's all a little different. Everything's, even though I've been doing it a long time, it's all a little different. And it was a lot of fun. And so I'm in Montreal. The Canucks are in Toronto on Saturday and then here on Sunday. It's kind of a funny weekend for the Canadian teams because Toronto's got back-to-back at home Friday, Saturday. Canucks have back-to-back Saturday in Toronto, Sunday in Montreal. And Montreal has back-to-backs at home Saturday and Sunday. And that seems really, like an odd occurrence for the weekend.
Man, the Canucks have some swagger right now, Ray. I mean, I just visualize Vince McMahon just walking down as Rick Tocchet or Patrick Allvin or Patterson or Quinn Hughes. I mean, go down the list. They've got something special here. It's not out of the gate anymore either. It's moving along the year.
Well, here's the one thing about, well, there's a couple things, but, you hear people say, oh, regression is coming. Well, of course it's coming. Nobody wins every game. And, we just saw it with Vegas. They were 11-0-1 out of the gate, and then they've lost a couple games. And I guess you could call that regression, or you could call it's an 82-game season. And so, of course, the team is going to flatten out at some time, but the points are already in the bank. Like if the race is to 96 or 98 points, they've already got a chunk of those points already in the bank. Mm-hmm. And any team that gets off quick, like, LA's just gone on that, that great road run. Those are all in the bank, those points. And it was interesting. Last night, they didn't really have, I would say, their A game, yet they found a way to win with less than that. And that's something that's not happened in the past. And they did it with Casey DeSmith in goal. Demko got a night off. He'll play in Toronto Saturday. Mm-hmm. But, so they got a good game from their backup goalie. Their power play scored again. They got, Mikheyev scored 2 goals. One of them was lucky off his foot, but scored a nice one early. And they're starting to get a little more depth scoring because the top end of the roster, Miller, Pettersson, Hughes, Besser's got 11 goals. Like, they've been lights out here for the first quarter of the season.
Well, we're leading with a positive here in episode 14 of the Ray and Dregs podcast, and the not so positive is coming up in the Tim Hortons headlines. And a reminder, Tim Hortons is launching its first ever national holiday smile cookie campaign, November 13th to the 19th. So when you buy one of these delicious smile cookies, which by the way, they're $1.50, we can all afford that, 100% of the proceeds go to support local charities. For more than 25 years now, you've come to know and love Tim Hortons Smile Cookies, only at Tim's. So the Oilers lose. They lose an unthinkable game to the San Jose Sharks 3-2. Let's give little credit to the Sharks, who've been kicked in the shin so many times this year.
Yep.
But now Edmonton sits marginally ahead of the San Jose Sharks, last place team in the NHL standings. Jay Woodcroft asked post-game Ray by Mark Spector if he's concerned about his job security. Here's his response.
You got a Stanley Cup contender that's in 32nd place here. Are you worried about your job?
No, I worry about taking care of my daily business and my daily process and making sure that I give my players something to focus on and concentrate on. No one's happy with where we're at. We all own it. We can be better, and that's where my focus is.
Well, there you go. And as Ryan Rashog, our fearless leader here from Rev Media, tweeted not so long ago as we record the podcast here early Friday afternoon in the East, the Oilers aren't going to make a coaching change, at least until the conclusion of this road trip. And they're in Seattle now, practicing. And then they'll play the Seattle Kraken in Seattle tomorrow. But how many more games, Ray, can this team burn before something has to give? And I look, we're not coach killers here. We're not trying or I'm not suggesting that Woodcroft is the reason. Coaching is the reason. But you've been around this game your entire life. Like when things like this happen, you got to do something, don't you? Either the players respond or management responds.
Well, and so certainly the first option is the players respond. I mean, there's a couple things that stand out for me here. Number one is the most obvious, is that you don't need to have the best goaltending in the league, but you can't have the worst. And the Oilers have the worst. And having the worst goaltending makes the coach not a very good coach, right? Like how many coaches get talked about as, oh, he's a really good coach if the goalie stinks, because you can't win. And so that's the first part of it. The second is, who would have thought the top end of their roster would be so dry this far into the season? I know they've got no depth scoring, but you would think that the top end would be able to carry them through a little bit of this mess, to have some points in their pocket. They've got none. I believe as we sit today, Sam Gagner, who's played like 4 games, has the same number of even strength goals combined as Draisaitl and McDavid. That's just not possible, except it is. And you get into a point where, you try to fix one thing and then another leak springs up, and then you try to fix that and then it's another, and you just never get it all fixed. When Dave Tippett was let go and they brought in Woodcroft, it wasn't immediate, but things changed because it's a new voice. Everybody exhales a little bit. Trades are almost impossible to have any significance at this point. You could bring in a new penalty killer, or, shift out $1 million here for $1 million there. But it really, they're not season changing things. The season changers are McDavid and Draisaitl. They have to be, because they're at a level that other people just can't get to. As far as the coach, I mean, he's right. I'm sure you lay your head on the pillow and go, man, this is crazy. I can't believe it. And you worry a little bit, but he can't worry what Ken Holland and Jeff Jackson are going to do. What difference does that make? No. They're not, it's wasted energy. I'm stunned the Oilers are where they're at, stunned. But I also think that they can't let too many more games slide by, because there's enough time to turn things in a positive direction. But again, Absolutely. If we look at 96 or 98 points, Dregs, you got to get going, or pretty soon you're looking at, you can only lose 22 or 23 games for the rest of the year. The numbers get ugly in a hurry.
How dangerous is it to try and manage the future? And what I mean by that, you're right. We've been down the road of the salary cap long enough now to know that to make a meaningful trade this time of year is almost impossible unless you're significantly mortgaging your future. I mean, if you think Scott Lawton is going to help, bring a little bit of juice or whatever into your mix, and you're willing to give up, a quality prospect or a top draft pick or whatever to make that work with Philadelphia, okay. But where I'm going with this is, you get to the March 8th trade deadline and you're a non-factor worst case scenario. Are you not looking to next year knowing that Leon Draisaitl is going into the final year of his contract? And there's an excellent chance that he's going to say, you know what, I'm not doing this. You know, I've earned my right to free agency and I'm going where it's sunny and the taxes are better. And, you know, everything that type of player has not the luxury. I mean, I guess it's a luxury when you're that end of the spectrum,
right.
and it's their right. That's the word I was searching for. But can that even enter into your mind if you're Kenny Holland or you're Jeff Jackson or you're Daryl Cates? They know that these big contracts are coming.
Are you saying come near that deadline that they're on the cusp or they're out of it?
Well, I mean,
because those are two very different decisions.
You're right. You're 100% right. You're right.
And here's the other complicating factor into all of that. You know, you mentioned Kenny Holland, you mentioned Jeff Jackson. Ken Holland is at the end of his contract.
Yeah.
And is that going to be his decision? Is it going to be Jeff Jackson's decision?
Yeah.
Is it both of theirs? Like, I don't have the answer, but that is a monumental decision because that decision leads into the next decision.
Yeah.
Right. And so if he's given you no indication, this being Draisaitl, that he would sign, and, you know, we're talking months here, you know, but if you've got no indication that he's going to sign, man, you cannot let him wander into the last year of his contract and the possibility of losing for nothing.
No.
Like, who would want to make that decision? I wouldn't.
No, I guess what I'm saying, though, is if you get closer to the trade deadline, and let's give the Oilers a benefit of the doubt, and they are a playoff team when March 8th rolls around, do you do what the Tampa Bay Lightning have done over time and just say, all right, Xavier Bourgault is a lovely piece in the American League right now, but here's what we can get for him. And if we throw a first-round draft pick into the equation, here are two pieces that now it has to be cap. You know, Edmonton's a cap team. There's got to be dollar in, dollar out. But I guess that's where I was going with it, just to prove to the group, we know the window is closing on these high-end guys. Leon is the first. So let's make sure that we put all of our chips to the middle of the table.
Okay, so here's what I would say to that. You know, there is this adage now, and we saw it last year with Florida. If you get in, you've got a chance, right? And Florida goes all the way to the Stanley Cup final. So people in the game and in the media and the fans will use that as a blanket statement, Dregs, for the entire league. And that's not the case. Some teams get into the playoffs and, you know, they're not going anywhere. Like they're 16th out of 16. And they're in, but they're not going anywhere. And Florida was such an outlier last year that they were able to do that. If you're basing your future on the 1 in 100 that could happen, that's a terrible decision. Yeah. But if you get to that deadline and you're like, if we get in, like if I'm the Oilers, I'm thinking if we get in, if they play themselves into a position to be in that conversation, I'm thinking like Tampa.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to have the best team for the season anymore.
Yeah.
I need to just get in and have a really solid team and my big boys light on fire. That's how I would look at it.
All right. Well, obviously we'll be paying close attention to what's going on in that Seattle-Edmonton game tomorrow, because it does feel, as cliche as it sounds, it feels must win. And I hate that term, and it's always applied, but it's not related to making the playoffs. It's related to keeping jobs.
Well, James, let me just finish on that.
Sure.
I think I think it would be probably wrong to suggest a win and Woodcroft keeps his job, a loss and he loses his job. In my history or my experience, those decisions are already made.
Okay.
And so if they're going to keep the coach, they're going to keep the coach.
All right.
And if they're not going to keep the coach, they're not.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, what's abundantly obvious is the team's got to play better, and that has to start immediately, or, you know, you do creep into that territory where just trying to claw your way back into the wild card conversation
Right.
for heaven's sakes, is a challenge. Okay, let's shift to the East, and you've got the Calgary Flames and the Toronto Maple Leafs in the Hall of Fame game in Toronto. We learned this morning that John Klingberg, in fact, is hurt. Lower body, and instantly when it's the Leafs, people are rolling their eyes and going, sure it is. You remember that Lou Lamoriello Island where Stefan Robota just mysteriously went to and never came back from? No, this isn't that. Klingberg, in fact, has a lower body problem. It's not serious, but he needs a couple of games to see if some treatment is going to help things settle down before they go to Sweden. Reeves has been ineffective, Ray, but I want a thought on him. But first, I want to talk about the Klingberg situation, because Klingberg, just the quick eye test tells you he's been disastrous. He's just not been good. The numbers will certainly back that up. But I look at Shattenkirk in Boston, who was sketchy at best last year, right? He comes into the Bruins, and hey, the Bruins have had their share of adversity on that back end, right? They've got injuries, that Charlie McAvoy and a 4-game suspension, but Kevin Shattenkirk is a pretty big piece of that blue line, and he's been effective. Mm-hmm. And that probably speaks to the structure, right? And the commitment from everybody who puts that uniform on in Boston. This is how we have to play every shift, every night, and we're going to be successful playing that way. Yet, I'm sure that Sheldon Keefe and the coaching staff are trying to do the same thing. They can't get buy-in from that group, and because of that, there's no insulation around John Klingberg, and he looks like Bambi on ice out there half the time.
Well, so if people were expecting John Klingberg to be a stable, steady force on the blue line, they haven't been watching for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Like he's not what he was when he was in Dallas. And, there's got to be a little bit of, thought that always goes through Klingberg's head that, they basically priced themselves out contractually, and he ended up with a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. He was looking for 5 times 7, and he ended up with 1. And now he comes to Toronto, it's 4.15. And, players are smart. They know what the narrative is around them. They know that their position in their career, and this is an important spot for him. You used a great term. There's no insulation on that Leaf defense. Mm-hmm. And, you got 2 guys in Brody and Riley, and then everything else is up for grabs.
Yeah.
It's a tough way to play. And the other thing the Bruins have, if we're, contrasting and comparing and Shattenkirk and Klingberg, is they have Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman. They have the best goaltending in the league.
It makes
and Toronto has less than the best goaltending in the league.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the fit on the signing, just because of how the last couple of years have gone for him. Now, last year you got to scrub some of that. I mean, Anaheim was just, it was a tough place to be.
Yeah.
But Shattenkirk can go to Boston, and his job is so well defined. Mm-hmm. They're not asking much. They're saying, can you do this? And he's like, yeah, I can do that. Mm-hmm. Well, for Klingberg, it's a bigger ask. And the fact is, he certainly to this point hasn't been able to provide that.
No. Well, they'll give him a couple of games. Obviously, he's not going to be healthy enough to play in either of the back-to-backs. And then, what's important to him, I'm sure, is being healthy enough to play in the games in Sweden. So that'll be next up for John Klingberg. All right, let's wrap up the Tim Hortons headlines with what a night for Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. 4-pointer against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Didn't it feel, Ray, that it was building to this, right, for Bedard? Now, we shouldn't expect Connor Bedard is going to have a series of 4-pointers. The league is too good for that. But right from game 1 that you did with ESPN, the debut of Connor Bedard against the Pittsburgh Penguins, I mean, you saw the flashes. And you can see the high level of skill. But where the Blackhawks are, obviously he's going to have some trying nights that go along with it. So it's nice that a kid gets rewarded the way he was rewarded last night.
For sure. I'm really interested in him because it bugs me that I can't quite pin him down yet. Right? I thought he was something, then I think he's something else, then I think he's something else. So, there was a lot of talk about his ability to roll off players in the offensive zone, to cycle off, and, a little bit of Crosby in him. I don't see that.
Yeah.
Sid is a tank.
Yeah.
Like he's if he were an inch shorter, he'd be round, right? Like he's so thick and, strong. And Bedard's 18 years old and, he'll add some power to himself as he gets older. But the play he made last night, where the puck's in the neutral zone and he reaches out with his stick and kind of like swoops it, or what, I don't even know what you call it. And it goes to Foligno. It's a 2-on-1 and he scores. That was very, I'm not comparing. That was very Gretzky-like. Like it's unassuming, and then all of a sudden it's in the net. Mm-hmm. Like if you look at what he does with his stick, I can tell you 1,258 games I played, I think I was an okay player. I never did that. I never thought to do that once. Like there's a creativity those great guys have. They see things that other people don't. And I'm seeing that with Connor, that he does things that other people don't think about. It's not that they couldn't do them. It's like it's not even in their imagination to do. And I'm fascinated by it.
Those are your Tim Hortons headlines. Our interviews on Ray and Dregs brought to us by Canadian Club Whiskey. Introducing the first release of the Canadian Club Invitation Series CC 15-year-old Sherry Cask. All the hallmarks of classic Canadian Club with the added richness and sweetness of sherry. And just guess who our guest this week is on the Ray and Dregs podcast.
At the line, takes the shot, goes Suzuki's way, back to Matheson. Caufield thought about the one-timer. Caufield, red shot, score! He did it again! OT winner, Cole Caufield!
Introducing Tim's new Holiday Smile Cookie. 100% of proceeds support local charities, community groups, and Tim's campers in your neighborhood. Buy a Holiday Smile Cookie at Tim's to give back to your community.
All right, Ray, and just like we planned it, we just heard the soundbite from Brian Mudryk, the golden tones of Brian Mudryk calling the overtime winner last night, scored by Cole Caufield, who joins us here on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. And what a beauty it was, man. I mean, a perfect shot, nice feed by Matheson. How high, Cole Caufield, is your confidence right now? Because it looks pretty high.
For sure feeling good. Obviously, it was a big win for us. Kind of coming off a couple games losing. So it was big for us and a big win going into this huge week here.
Confidence is funny for scorers, eh? Like the puck comes to you sometimes it doesn't. Like, where were you after your shoulder surgery? You got a rehab, you come into the year. Like, did you feel good early, or did it take you a bit to get comfortable again?
I think, when I got the surgery, it was early enough to where I had a full summer, and the summer for me is pretty big. We got a good group in Michigan that kind of prepares you for the season. Play a lot of small area games and stuff. But once I got back to Montreal, scrimmaging a bunch, kind of getting the legs back. But for me, scoring is all about practice and reps. It's not really about game situations or putting yourself in a game, but you can put yourself into situations during practice in the summer to kind of feel prepared and ready.
You talk about the repetition. That goes right back, right? When you were a little kid, your dad ran the rink. And were you a rat at the rink all the time? Were you always out there, you and your brother playing?
Yeah, my mom's a teacher, so you had two options, and I was definitely not going to school. So
right. Good choice.
for me, it was pretty cool, obviously, to have my dad do that, run a rink, and have all the free ice that you wanted. But also have my brother there too, so I'd never be alone on the ice. Dad really never went out there with us. He kind of just let us create our own drills and kind of wanted us to push each other, and that's kind of what happened. But obviously pretty lucky to have your dad kind of give you free ice all the time.
Now, he was a scorer too, right, in the day?
That's what he tells me. Yeah.
Right. There's no video, right? There's nothing there.
Yeah, he's yet to show me anything. So no, I think he's still got it. I mean, he still coaches a bunch during the year and in the summers too. So he loves shooting on goalies still and just proving that he's still got it. But he still has that snapshot active. So it's pretty fun to see.
Now, okay, so when I was still coaching, when Landon was playing, I'd shoot and they'd laugh because I had this old guy's muffin. Like, can your dad shoot it, or is he?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it doesn't even look like he's trying, but it's more all just a flick of the wrist. It's not very powerful, but it's quick and he can put it kind of wherever he wants. And I'm always laughing at it because he's always kind of standing still. He gets it off a pass. He's just in the slot, whatever. So he always looks good, but it's still pretty incredible that he's still got it.
Now, I would say most people don't quite understand how hard it is to score at any level. And you've been just an exceptional scorer throughout your whole life. I was asking my brother-in-law, Tony Granato, who coached you at Wisconsin, and he said like he could never describe like your want to score and like out early to shoot and the repetition of the shot at university. Is that one of the big takeaways you got from going to school, was just the extra work, the extra time, the level that you were playing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, every goal's my next one I always say is my favorite one. So for me is obviously, you had all the time in the world to get on the ice early in college and stay out late, and practice was obviously pretty fun too. So, I mean, every time you score, I think, it's a good time to celebrate or enjoy it. So I think, not many guys love it as much as I do. And I love doing it. So I think practice is pretty big for me. Kind of putting yourself in situations, maybe not trying to score all the time, but kind of shooting where you want to shoot in a way that you think the goalie's gonna move or react. So just kind of trying new things and putting yourself into different situations.
You celebrate in practice when you score, don't you? I know.
Oh yeah.
I love it. Just give it to the guy like, hey, it's behind you, pal. You do.
Yeah, like, come on, stop the next one.
Yeah, I love it.
I got a good relationship with goalies, but I think it makes it a little bit more competitive.
Talk about that overtime winner last night. I would assume, Cole, that all goal scorers, most goal scorers anyway, feel that there's a moment here, right? And maybe it's a stretch of shifts, it's a stretch of games, but you're in overtime, and that's a situation you're going to want to thrive in. So in that moment last night, did you kind of feel like that shot was coming and you were going to be able to tuck it in short side the way you did?
Marty always says play the game that's in front of you, and for us, that was just kind of moving around. Obviously, you have some set plays off of 4-on-3 and stuff, but sometimes it doesn't work or things don't line up, and you just have to play the game and read and react. So it's kind of just more like that. I think kind of taking what the other team gives you and reading off what they're doing. But I could have shot that one timer, but there's no upside to doing that. So when I caught it, I just tried to get to the middle and give myself a better angle and kind of use Sider as a screen there, but. At the end of the day, I don't think, the goalie really saw it much, and, you just got to put it in the place where he can't get to it. So that's kind of what I saw. Obviously you miss, you try and get the puck back and do it again. But, that's just kind of how I saw it last night.
Yeah, you mentioned Marty. When Marty St. Louis takes over, none of us know him as a coach. We just know him as a player that was on waivers, that willed his way and skilled his way to the Hall of Fame. Like, just an amazing player, so hard to play against. Tell me what it's like to play for somebody like that. He's seems like he's part philosopher, part strategy, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think, he's sometimes more of a teacher than a coach in a good way. And, the things that he kind of sees that most people don't is special. And, I've said this before, like, I think sometimes he's too ahead of the game or too smart in some ways, but,
right.
The way he sees things is special, and it's good for our team, kind of being young and fast and trying to find new ways to to bring things into the game. But I mean, we're all trying to figure out things together, I think, too. And, he's learning stuff every day, but, we kind of doing it together, which is pretty special, too. And obviously, practices are pretty fun with him, too. We play a lot of small ice games that kind of make you think. And, it's not just the repetitive same drills every practice. So it's fun. They're short. You work hard for 20 every day, and, usually like 35, 40-minute practices. So it's good stuff, and really, really special to have him as your coach.
How are things right now for you guys? You got such a young team. You had a really great start. You kind of hit a little bit of a skid for a bit, and you get the win last night. How are things right now around Montreal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a young team, but the league really doesn't care that you're young. It doesn't care that you got guys banged up or injured. So for us, it's just finding a way every night to be in it. And obviously the other night against Tampa, it's tough going down 4-0 early. And I think as a young team, you kind of find a way to battle back and kind of put yourself back in the game. But for us, it's all about learning how to not have those laggy starts or being able to start on time. So that's pretty much the main focus in the room right now. But I thought there's some good things that we take out every game, but at the end of the day, 2 points is 2 points no matter how you get it. So for us, we're just trying to focus on the next game. Obviously, take what we can from the game before and clean some things up. But very energetic group and a lot of upside.
In the media, we can debate whether or not, this team is ready to turn the corner. We know that there's a certain path developmentally that, the organization has embraced and is going to continue to adhere to. But 13 games in, and you're in the wild card discussion. So are we heavily underestimating the possibility that, this is a competitive enough group that you could nibble at a playoff spot, or who knows, maybe find a way in?
I mean, I think, every year everybody starts at the same record. So, like I said, it's a long season. Obviously, there's going to be ups and downs, and, we've been through, one of those already. So we're just trying to stay consistent. We know it's going to be a long season with some tough stretches, but, for us, it's all about, just getting as many points as we can and, see what happens. But we're young, yeah, but I think most of our younger guys have played almost half a season now or close to a full one in their careers. So, you don't want to just wait around and wait for you to be ready. So I think, we look at it as a very optimistic team, and I feel like we do surprise teams at sometimes. And obviously there's some times where, teams take advantage of our, youngness and not being able to kind of settle things down where we want to. But again, that's part of the learning process and the curve that we got to kind of get over. And it's good to have those experiences, with failure to overcome and find success.
Still pretty cool skating out at Bell Center. I love that place.
It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It feels like Saturday.
It's so good. Hey, I got to ask you about this guy from Wisconsin tells me about Robbie Badoon. And he said you would laugh as soon as I mentioned his name, that they were looking for a roommate for you when you come in as a freshman, and they're like, oh boy, we got to find someone. So tell us about Robbie Badoon and what he's meant to you, and now one of your good buddies.
Yeah, this was after my freshman year. He was a grad transfer, and I honestly at the time didn't really know what was happening. I didn't sign a lease with the other guys in my class because I didn't really know for sure what was going on with COVID and if we were going to play or not. So, I just waited it out, and then when I decided I was coming back and stuff, I was kind of in a pickle. I didn't really, I hate living alone in college and stuff, but we had this grad transfer goalie that I was like, hell no, I do not want to live with a goalie. This guy's probably weird, but, a 19-year-old living with a 24-year-old doesn't really, fit. But, I talked on the phone, never met the guy, and, decided to find a place and live together. And, looking back on it, was the best thing for us. It was a long season with COVID and, not being able to go to school. So, we were always around, but just the things that we would do every day, just be competitive. I felt like a brother, older brother to me. And for sure, a great guy. He was a huge part of our team that year. he was good between the pipes and stuff. But him and Tony got along pretty well, and still do to this day. So keep in touch with him all the time, and he's doing well. But that was pretty big for me, coming back my second year and having a guy like that to kind of lean on. He was very competitive and kind of wanted the same things I did, so that was pretty cool.
Last one for me is your brother signed in Toronto's organization this year, and he's been there for you a lot, right? And been kind of someone you look up to a lot. Now he's got his own path, and so how often are you able to keep in touch? How can you get to see him play at all, whether it's online or what's it like with your brother starting his pro career as well?
Yeah, no, he's I can't thank him enough. I think obviously we're different players, different routes, different paths, but we did get to play with each other for 2 years in college, which is special for us and our family. But now I'm proud of him. We actually lived together this past summer and trained, worked out together. So it was all good stuff. But I got to see him twice in Toronto while he was there when we played the Leafs in preseason and the first game. So he got to be there for those, and then he played our East Coast team last week, and they flew into Montreal and had a day here. So got to hang out with him. It's always nice to see him. Obviously, he's with that organization, and it's every guy's got a different road. But I couldn't be more proud of him. I mean, he's giving it a shot. He's competing, having fun, and just loves the game. So it's fun to watch, and we talk every day, and it's a grind where he's at, but he's doing it as any way I can support and be there for him. I am.
Awesome.
Well, good stuff, Cole. We'll let you go with this. Can't end the interview without asking about the Yankees hat you're wearing. What's going on with that?
I don't know. It's probably the first thing I found when I woke up this morning. My dad probably wouldn't like me rocking this hat. He's a big Brewers fan, and I am too. I shouldn't even be wearing this, so it's on me.
Fantastic stuff, buddy. Thanks for doing this. Big night last night, obviously. Keep it going in Montreal.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Cole.
Ray, how young players make their way into the National Hockey League, and they're bubbly, and they've got lots of personality, and that personality kind of manifests in how they play the game. Well, that's Cole Caufield right now, right? Mm-hmm. He's 22 years of age, but let's just hope that kind of youthful exuberance never leaves, because he just seems to have it all, including an unbelievable skill set.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to disappear because, obviously the guy from Wisconsin I'm talking about is my brother-in-law, Tony Granato, who coached him. And there's an energy to him that is just there. Mm-hmm. There was a time when University of Wisconsin came out to Vancouver to play UBC in the preseason, kind of like training games. Yeah. And so we had them, we had the team over to our house for a barbecue. Mm-hmm. They ate, there was 25 of them. They ate more meat than you can, it was like 70 guys were coming. Anyway, Cole was there, and they had all these games going on, and even he was the youngest guy there, his energy was everywhere.
Sure.
But what I got out of that interview is I think he fools people into thinking he's just a carefree player, because he's not. He's a thinker. Yeah. When I'm listening to him talk about scoring and getting into position and the next shot and the shooting it in practice where you think the goalie isn't going to be able to get it, but even if it's your shot, you're mm-hmm. working on something that, to me is the next step of thinking, of playing the game. And he's clearly got it. It was a fun interview. That was really great.
It was fun, and timing being what it is, right? We've planned to have Cole on for a couple of weeks, and the timing just didn't work out. And I'm watching that game last night, and perfect, Muddy, you called it just the way we need you to for the podcast.
Thank you, Muddy. Appreciate your help.
Worked out well. All right, buddy, busy weekend ahead for you?
Yep. Well, I got a day off tomorrow. I'll watch I'll watch you tonight, the Hall of Fame game, and it's a great weekend always, the Hall of Fame. And Sunday I've got the Canucks in Montreal, and so I'm I'm a day off in Montreal. It's a great city. And so looking forward to meeting up with some friends and grabbing a dinner and watching the games.
Nice. Yeah. Hall of Fame game, Calgary and Toronto for me. Tomorrow, young Mason Dreger is making his way home. So I've got a tri-tip going on the pit boss, buddy. A tri-tip, a just nice big chunk of beef.
Oh, so you got to work hard on that. When do you put it in? 8 o'clock and then check it at 3?
No, probably not that hard. It's not the biggest cut. I kind of exaggerated that, but yeah, it'll probably need 3-4 hours. Yeah, 3-4 hours, something like that.
Oh yeah, so you put it in and then leave it. Geez, that's really good strategy. I like
Put it in.
Really work hard at it.
Leave it. Go for lunch with my buddies. You know, watch a little college football if it's going on, and then come back and have supper. That's what.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Enjoy the weekend, Dregs. Enjoy Mason at home.
All right, travel safe. Thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs. Our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. Thank you. Tim Hortons. Thank you. And as always, thanks to you for listening, rating, and sharing the podcast, and keep checking us out on the Ray and Dregs YouTube channel as well. Until next time, everybody, stay safe.